Coming up on this edition of Rev Culture, by land and by sea. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Rev Culture. I'm Todd Lewis. Coming up on the program, the APC Late Model Series enters year 10. Director of Motorsports Alex Nagy will give us a look at what's ahead. Jason Dakins is making a name for himself, designing liveries for sports cars. He will take us through the process. But first up, Canada is well represented on the water. Innisfil, Ontario's Rusty Wyatt made a lasting impression in his first ever competition in the F1H20 World Championship of Powerboat Racing. He snatched the victory away in the opening round in Indonesia, became the first rookie and first Canadian to win in the series. Rusty, you made quite an entrance to your first event in taking the victory.
Yeah, it was the first time actually meeting with all the whole Sharjah team and whatnot. We didn't have the chance to do some testing before this race, so kind of had everything in the best slot it could be in to do all the testing and do as best we could at the first event. Everything just clicked so well. We got such a great team of guys in the boat, and just in general, everything has just come together so well, and the whole Sharjah team has made it nice and warm, welcoming for me to come in there for my first race. There's a lot of pressure on for the first race, of course, so especially with little testing that we had. So yeah, it was quite the first race. There's no doubt about that.
You've talked to the team. You probably met them on video calls prior to the first race. But how do you prepare for something like this? How do you try to get some sort of team chemistry?
Yeah, so obviously you got to stay in the gym, stay as focused as you can, whatnot, as fit in best of shape as you can, and that's where it all starts. And you know, we got a lot of experience in these boats, so that carries over. Yes, the racing is quite a bit different over there, but you know, like I said, we got a lot of experience in these type of boats, and you know, we went over there and with our best health and whatnot to try and get the best outcome. And like I said, the Sharjah team, everything just clicked so well. We got, I think it was about 2 hours in the boat before qualifying and whatnot. So everything just kind of came together, and we were very comfortable with the boat right away. So there wasn't a whole lot of adjustments having to be made. You know, the driver before me was actually very similar weight, so that was huge. The balance of the boat was already pretty well spot on. So yeah, it was a lot for the first race. So you know, it was definitely a dream come true. That's for sure.
An opportunity like this doesn't just happen either. Was it your success in the American Powerboat Championships that got the team's attention?
Yeah, there was definitely the foot in the door. You know, that's where it all starts. We had great success in the American Tour, and you know, we always had our chirping in Scott's Gilman's ear, which is the team principal of Sharjah Marine. He kind of, you know, we talked, and he was actually going to come to one of our races at the end of last year, or the end of 2023. Yeah, last year, sorry. And he never made it out, but we were still chirping in his ear. I know that Sharjah bought all the equipment off of Scott Gilman, so turned it into the Sharjah Marine team. And, you know, they were looking for a driver switch and whatnot. And we were just in the right place at the right time. And, of course, the finishes and whatnot we had last year and the year before that really helped us, you know, grow as a team as well. So yeah, it was a big move for sure. It was very last minute too, to be honest. We only put the deal together probably about 2 months before the first race there in Indonesia. So there was a lot of pressure and a lot of stuff going on those 2 months. So just to get to that race, it felt like a load was off my shoulder right away as soon as I sat in the boat.
You don't just jump into these boats either. How did you begin racing and get involved with powerboat racing?
Yeah, so I've always been in a race boat since I was like 10 years old. My dad, you know, as soon as we got to that age that, you know, we could be trusted with this horsepower stuff behind us, it was a big deal for my dad because he always raced in the Canadian Tour. It was quite big in Canada back in the day. So he raced for many years, and then raced go-karts for probably 5 years. And we were quite competitive in that. And he said, this isn't for me. We need to go boat racing. I'm a boat racer. So then we moved into boat racing, and there we were. We were You know, we like I said, we got a cottage in Muskoka here, and we would always be in a fast boat every weekend. So I felt like I got a lot of seat time there and got comfortable with boats in general, and that really helped my success being in these boats so often. And then we moved into the big horsepower, and racing Canada for 5 years, and then we went racing in the USA for another about 5 to 7 years. Anyways, we were kind of hit and miss. COVID took a little bit of a hit on that, and then here we are now. We're full out in the F1H20.
So you've had a little time off between events. Your next one comes up in June in Italy. What have you been up to since then?
Yeah, I've actually been working on boats. We our boating time is now. The ice is off the lake and it's starting to warm up. So we got a lot of pleasure boats that we play around with, and we got a cottage on an island, so we're always in a boat. So yeah, I'm building one right now that similar speeds to what we're seeing with the F1H20. So hopefully I'll have that one done here in a couple of weeks, and I actually might even be able to test it out before Sharjah and get comfy.
This is your rookie season, and maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but can this become a full-time career for you where you're racing at this level?
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of people's full-time gig there for many years. So, you know what? I'm trying to keep that out of my mind, but obviously it's there. I'd love to do that wherever I need to be in the world to make that happen. I'm all in. So, yeah, it's a long break for sure. Staying in the gym and just trying to stay focused. Staying. We're 2 months in between the races, so it's pretty easy to kind of, I guess you could say, to kind of fall out of the rhythm or whatnot. But I'm not letting that happen. We're going into Italy with full steam.
So this is something that really started as a passion for me as a fan more than anything.
Jason Dakins is making a name for himself, designing race car liveries. You can see it in the FEL, Sports Car Championship Canada, IMSA, and others. Jason, how did you evolve into this business, first of all? Because you just told me you're not even a graphic designer.
No, I'm actually an engineering technician by trade. So this is something that really started as a passion for me as a fan more than anything. Of all things, it started out in sim racing. It was basically just a way for me to get some of the liveries that I enjoy into racing sims, and evolving from there, I started creating my own designs, entered a few contests, and ended up winning to have some of my designs put on real race cars. And from there, I started getting involved with Pfaff Motorsports during COVID. They needed somebody to do some racing liveries for iRacing. And from there, I was given the opportunity to do their TCR car in 2020. And ever since then, they kept coming back, and I'm now doing their IMSA liveries. And from there, people just keep coming to me because they recognize it and they want that level of professionalism on their own cars.
Tell me how the process works. Do they give you colors, design ideas, parameters, and then just let you run wild, or how does that work?
Some of them do. Some of the bigger teams will have that already kind of figured out. So some of them will say, we want something that's very similar to what we did last year, but just updated. Or some of them will have a branding package for a new sponsor, and you have to follow their guidelines. Some of them are very wide open. There's a team right now that I work with out of California called CDR Valkyrie. They have a very wild looking livery. They kind of gave me full reign to do whatever I wanted. And from there, it really evolved. It's been on a few cars now, currently running on a Toyota Supra, and a Porsche 992 GT3R will be showing up later this season. Those are the most fun because you're not as tied, but they can also be a little bit more stressful because sometimes having those guidelines that you need to follow can make it really simple, and you're not going to do something that the customer isn't happy with.
There's a lot of considerations that you have to take in as well, not just how the car looks, but the immediate impression it makes in a photograph or in video, and also teams want to use it for merchandise, I'm sure.
Absolutely. That's something that we definitely think of. One of the things that we do immediately, like say with Pfaff Motorsports, for example, the merchandise people want to know exactly what the car looks immediately. We're working on some stuff right now, and one of the first things I had to do was send it to them so they know what it's going to look like, because they have to order T-shirts and posters and everything in advance, right? So there's a lot of different touch points and people involved that revolve around this industry that have to have a say in it. So it's definitely something where you have to kind of balance a lot of different opinions.
Have you ever submitted anything that wasn't accepted, or is it a collaborative process? How long does it usually take?
There's definitely been a few instances where customers haven't been really happy with an initial idea, but that's it's a very subjective opinion, right? So there's definitely going to be that happening. Luckily, it's always been something that we've been able to overcome. People are always very understanding that this is a process and it has to come through multiple different revisions to get what they want, and they're always very accommodating with that.
Where does this go from here? Do you want to expand into other disciplines besides sports cars, or I suspect that presents other challenges?
It definitely does. Being heavily graphic design oriented, it definitely opens up a lot of doors for different things. There's, say, band merchandise and artwork for albums and stuff that I've done in the past, or t-shirt companies that need stuff, whether they're not motorsports or just sports in general. There's a lot of different avenues for that.
Is this the goal now, to make this your life's work of, I'm just going to design and be focused solely on motorsports?
Not necessarily. It is right now, because it's going so well that I don't really need to supplement that with anything. And if that's the way that this goes, that's absolutely fantastic. But it would be nice to do a couple of different things, because I do have a lot of different interests as well.
Jason, I love the work that you're doing. Can't wait to see what else is coming in the future. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
We wanted to get back to that 300 lap at the Great Canadian Race, so that's what's going to happen this year.
Alex Nagy is the director of motorsports for the United Late Model Series and joins us. Alex, I know you haven't been running the full show the entire time through the history of the series, but as we get set for year number 10 of the Late Model Series, think back to how far this group has come since the original idea and where we're going in the future. This has been a huge growth story.
It really has. And so, when I first met the group, they raced at Chicasa with us, and I was so impressed with their program and how quick it grew. We had 30 something cars at a doubleheader, and competition was incredible. And coming from 2015 till now, this year being their 10th anniversary, yes, you're right, I haven't been involved with throughout the whole thing, but they've done such an incredible job that it makes my job a lot easier to join in and try to help push it along.
The Late Model Series, of course, is great, but in the last couple of years, you've brought other series under the same United umbrella. And tell me a bit about those and the plan for those going forward.
Yeah, so during COVID, when we had some rental events, if you will, where we partnered with the racetracks, or they partnered with us actually at Chicasa, and to bring a second class in to kind of fill the day, they started working with Superstocks. And it was such a hit that it was something that we worked with all the racetracks that are involved that race those cars, and agreed to be able to run them in a series, now being 5 races for the past 3 years. That is not going to gear it towards supporting your home track. So you have to race at your home track to be able to get points fund money. You can get wins or money, but stand for the championship, you have to participate at your home track and support it. So we didn't want to just have a series where a local division, now half those guys or girls say, I'm not going to race at home now, I'm just going to race specials. So we didn't want to do that, and it's worked out pretty good. The partnership with all the tracks has been good, and the racing's been awesome. So Superstocks, that's how that kind of come under the fold. And then this will be our second year. We merged with Oscar and took over the hot rods and modified. So last year was a learning curve for all of us, them, us, competitors, us, and working with Dave Gainforth, he's still the man on the street. So going into our second season with those two divisions, we just feel a lot more comfortable and just more at home. And we all know each other now, so for the most part, and it's been great. So now we have 4 divisions, and it's busy, but it's good for our partners, it's good for our fans, and it I think we're trying to do different things all the time in all the divisions to make it better for the competitors.
In the late model series last year, you jumped up to 200 laps at Delaware Speedway, and I know that got a lot of attention from a lot of people. You're taking that and going a step further with some of your major events this year as well.
Yeah, we had all the races have been 100 laps since the inception of the series, and like anything, you get a little bit stagnant, and I think the teams were at the point, and not only the teams, our fans were like, we need to see something different, something more. So last year we had the 150, 250 laps, one at Sauble, one at Sunset, and then 200 at Delaware. Now, the Great Canadian Race Weekend at Delaware Speedway, I've been part of on the competitor side several times, and it was always a 300 lap weekend. So didn't want to go to that right away last year in 2023 because it would have been a huge step, but wanted to get back to that 300 lap at the Great Canadian Race. So that's what's going to happen this year. And to be 200 at Sunset and then 150 at Sauble. So actually the opposite order, but 150, 200, 300. And it's
What
the teams have been excited. It's brought, just different thoughts and strategy, involves everybody. It's in part of their teams, which is important. You have if you're fortunate to have 4 or 5 helpers, uh, sometimes it's hard to keep them all involved. So this way, whether you're prepping tires, you're trying to figure out if you have enough fuel, all those different things, what you're going to conserve, involve your spotter more because there's strategies. So it's made everybody have to rethink everything, and I think that's healthy.
Like every series, you're concerned about car counts, and I think that's an annual event for every series that runs. You've had some drivers that have done well, that they've moved on and decided to go to other programs as well. They're maybe not coming back full time, but you always seem to have a good field of cars. There's always somebody ready to fill the void, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, we got a strong core still. Of last year was 15. A couple years ago, prior to COVID, it was a bigger core. But to be honest, Todd, at that time, I can remember I didn't run weekly races at Chicasa, so it didn't matter that much to me. But other track operators kind of thought that APC series hogged all the cars. So now, we've got more people. The core has shrunk by, overall core has probably shrunk by 4 cars, but she's still strong. But there's more people racing weekly and then joining us when we go to their racetrack. And that's healthy for the sport. We don't care. I mean, listen, would you like to have a core of 25? Of course. But we also want the industry to be healthy and strive. So this way, when our hope is, as we keep going to these racetracks, that more and more local people will jump in for 1, 2, next thing you know, 3 or 4, but they still support the local track. So that to us makes us happy.
As a series, you've got to look further into the future as well. Where do you look a year or a couple of years down the road for the series and for all 4 series?
Yeah, so the late model series, we've had conversations with a bunch of different groups in different parts of our country and even in the U.S. where you talked about some people that are going down south, and I kind of skipped that part of your question, but from Trayton Lapsevich, who's Canadian Tire or NASCAR Canada champion last year, he raced with the APC series last year as well, part time, and then several years prior to that with us. The fact that he's down racing the Cars Tour, and we have a small part of that, hopefully. Kyle Steckley, Chase Pinsnow is with us for a short period of time, Joe Lawrence, and fortunately, Joe and Kyle are still racing full time here. But for our guys to go down there and run like they have in their short period of time, we're proud and we're excited. If they didn't race with us this year, we'd still be so happy for them. So, but we're lucky because they're going to race with us as well. So the late model thing, has so much more potential because late models across North America are practically the same. They're super late models and template pro late models, and the cars are the same except for the engine for the most part. Pro late models, we had that at the Canadian Nationals at Chicasa, 65 cars from all over North America. We proved they can all run together. So there's so many opportunities to race a late model that I think that's where the first probably step of going outside the box is for us, where there is potential to maybe there's always that Maritimes Ontario thing. We've had some conversations. It'd be fun to kind of get that going again. We've had some people here go there, and vice versa. So that, and yeah, there's lots of opportunity. It's just trying to bring it all together. We'll see where it goes.
That will do it for this edition of Rev Culture. Don't forget you can catch up on past episodes by going to the Rev TV website. You can catch Speed Chronicles Wednesday on the Rev TV YouTube channel, and please make sure you're following us on our social channels. Thanks for watching. I'm Todd Lewis.